Okay guys, today we're going to be making some shrimp and corn chowder. So in my Instapot I got about a tablespoon of butter or so that I'm just got it on saute mode, so I'm going to melt the butter. And then once the butter is melted a little bit, I'll put about, I don't know, maybe one small onion. Small to medium, it doesn't really matter. But for those of you who are not used to cooking at all, I'd say about 3/4 of a cup of onions maybe. But if you're shopping at the store, just, a small to medium onion will do. And I have like a bag of chopped onions here, so I'm just going to put about that much. Cooking, unless you're baking, cooking is not an exact science. So feel free to just try different things. And when you've been cooking as long as I have, which is about 40 years, you learn to improvise and just kind of go with the feel. But there we go. We're going to saute the onions in the butter. And I don't want my onions to get real brown. I just want them to get softened. Normally, as a Cajun cook, I brown everything. But this is not really Cajun food. Let me get this little bit of brown part of onion out of there. Yeah, so this is not a Cajun dish. It's shrimp and corn chowder. So like I said, I just want to sweat my onions a little bit just to get them softened. And I'll come back with the shrimp and the rest of the stuff. Okay, we got the onions, sweated down a little bit. And then we're going to add about, this is, I have a 24-ounce bag of shrimp, and I am going to add close to half of it. And they're frozen, so it's going to drop the temperature of my pot a lot, but that's okay. I wasn't too worried about that. If you want, you can defrost your shrimp in the refrigerator, a few hours, but it's not necessary. As you'll see, this is frozen. And I'm just going to let them heat up and till the shrimp turn kind of pink. And then we'll go from there. Okay, we're coming along here, and I wanted to show y'all real quick how they're starting to turn slightly pink. But you can see some of them are still, definitely not even close to being cooked. Like I said, they were frozen, so they are thawing nicely. And I'm doing this in my Instapot, but you can do this on top of the stove very easily, not a problem. You do not need an Instapot for this recipe at all. In fact, I'm probably, if I do pressure it, I'm going to do it before I put all the cream in it and stuff. But it's only going to pressure it maybe, a few minutes. And you could let it just cook on top of the stove just as easily. So I wanted to show y'all what it's looking like, and you can see the onions are continuing to get a translucent color. Well, I guess translucent's not a color, but it's getting translucent. The shrimp are starting to go from this grayish color to the pink color you see. Okay, a little bit more, let it saute, and like I said, I'm doing this in my Instapot because I just love my Instapot, and it kind of makes it, like a one dish thing. And I got it just sauteing away, and it's on the saute mode and continuing to let them cook. Okay, now they are pretty much all pink. Sorry about all the steam. And I'm going to quickly show y'all what I'm putting in here. Some pink Himalayan salt, some Slapia Mama, and I'll show y'all the seasonings. But it's a Cajun seasoning, and a little bit of seasonal. So, you know, maybe a half a teaspoon of each. If you don't have the Cajun seasoning, don't worry about it. However you season your food, whatever you use, salt, pepper, you know, that'll be fine too, just that. And I'm also putting in a 10-ounce bag of frozen corn. And of course that will bring your heat down a little bit. Don't worry about that. Let it come back up to heat. And then I'm going to be adding maybe about 2 or 3 cups of chicken broth. And this is what I get. It is a broth base and seasoning. Instead of the, I like them better than the bouillon cubes. This is from Orrington Farms. And as you can see here, it says 2 teaspoons of the broth base, and it is a powder, equals 1 cup of broth. So I'll be starting with like 4 teaspoons and 2 cups of water. And I'm just going to dissolve it in there. You can see that's what it is. It's just a powder, but it is very flavorful and not super salty like, you know, your regular bouillon cubes tend to be. But if you just have bouillon cubes, use that. I'm not the kind of critical cook you see a lot of times on YouTube channels that, you know, just kind of cut people down for what they use or how they cook it. Or if you have it, you can, you know, use it. But if you don't have it, then you can go buy that. Another one is Better Than Bouillon is the brand, but I can't find chicken anywhere. I think you can order it off of Amazon, but I didn't go that route. But you could do that too if you want. So I'm just going to let the corn kind of defrost. And, you know, it's still on saute mode. Or if you're on your stove, just saute it on a medium heat. And then we'll come back with the chicken broth. Okay, I've got my corn pretty much all warmed up, and that's kind of all you want. You don't, you know, that corn just, this was a steam bag of corn, so it's not going to take much to get it cooked. Plus, we're going to cook this, you know, a little while. Now I got my chicken broth, you can see there. I got it zoned in on the pan pretty tight, and I don't like to move my camera. So I added my chicken broth, and that was like 12 ounces of water that I mixed the chicken broth in. So I will add some more water. And the way I mixed up my chicken broth, you can do how you see fit, but I mixed up mine like double strength. And just pour the rest of my water in like that. Easy. And the path to becoming a good cook is basically a lot of experimentation. So anybody with experience has been through lots of mistakes. Just remember that when you're cooking. So if you have a mistake, you know, food's kind of expensive, but don't feel bad if you have to throw something out or change it up a little bit to make it suited to your taste. It's all in learning. So you can see the shrimp are not cooked through, but they're pink. And so I'm going to let this saute. Now eventually we're going to add half and half to this. But right now I don't, you know, you don't want to ball your half and half and stuff too much. So I'm going to let this saute and cook. And we'll be back. I'm tempted to add some potatoes to this too. I think I might do that. That's just a little change up, but that's what cooking is all about, doing what you please. So I think I'm going to peel a few potato cubes and add that in there. Okay guys, I added about another cup of water in here, and this is going to be the key. I'm putting about 2 cups of just chunked up potatoes, kind of spoon size, whatever, and you can see I sprinkled a little bit more seasoning on them. That way I kind of measure how much seasoning I have. But the key is, if you don't have enough, when you go to taste it, just add more. It's easier to add more season than it is to take it out. So now you can see my potatoes, my corn, and my shrimp are in there. And this is what I love about my Instapot. I am going to now put the lid on my Instapot. And I know it's Instant Pot. I've had people criticize other people. It's just ridiculous to criticize people constantly. I'm Cajun, so you can tell by the accent, I'm sure. And I say Instapot. We don't finish the ends of any words. So that's that. And that's how it shall remain. So, I know I've had people tell me they're scared to do videos on YouTube because people are so critical. And that's just ridiculous. So, I am now going to put my lid on my Instapot. And it's tricky, and if you've never done a video, it's even trickier to try to do this beyond the camera. So I'm gonna turn this camera off and I'm gonna put my pot on. I'll be back. Okay, and all this you see on my pot is just seasoning from sprinkling all over. But I want to show y'all, I'm gonna put this to sealing, and I'm gonna push my manual button. And then I'm going to put my, turn it off. Then I press my manual button. And I'm putting it to about 4 minutes. 4 minutes will be fine. That should cook those small potatoes and everything. And we will come back and add the half and half. But, oh, I almost forgot. I wanted to add this kind of secret ingredient. Again, I'm Cajun. This is Zattarains Shrimp and Crab Ball. This is highly concentrated stuff, so if you find this, some of the Walmarts do have it. If you find this, I am going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of this to my liquid. And again, it's very concentrated, so 1/4 teaspoon, that's it. And that will give it a little Cajun kick. Okay, my thing is now cooking, and you can see I'm letting it off of it's called manual release, where you just see that sealing. And on my pot, I just hit that. And I'm going to let it all release its steam. I let it sit for about 5-6 minutes before, just because I was doing other things. But you can, if you have time, you can let it sit and come down to, natural release, which is just let it sit. It goes to a warm position. 15-20 minutes you could have let it sit. But I wanted to get on with things. I have some other things I want to cook today. So I'm just letting it go down until that little stopper thing drops. And then I'll be able to open it. You cannot open this machine, this Instapot, until that is completely released anyway. So you don't have to worry about being scared about a pressure cooker. I've used mine tons of times for about almost 3 years now, and absolutely love it. So there you can hear the steam is releasing. It's just about, I'll let you hear the pin drop. I think you'll be able to hear it. There, it dropped. I didn't know if you heard it, but the pin dropped, and I can now open it. I always open it away from me because there's a lot of steam that comes out, and it'll, of course, steam up the camera. So, but we'll take a look inside, and oh boy, it smells yummy. And let me get my spoon, and those potatoes are cooked because I cut them real small. So they are definitely cooked. Now what I'm going to do is just let this, I'm going to make sure all my potatoes are cooked. But the size I cooked them, I cut them, and the 4 minutes of pressure should have definitely cooked all the potatoes. But I am going to kind of cut one that's And just make sure, yeah, they are cooked. So now what we're going to do is add our half and half. And this is what it is. If you're not used to cooking, it's called half and half, just like that. Got it at Walmart. This is a 16 ounce. You can get it in bigger. I like half and half in my coffee, so I use it for that too. It's also good in a lot of other things. But what I'm going to do, well, first of all, I think I'm going to taste this just to get a little idea of what our taste is, and then I'll come back and tell you. Okay, our seasoning is absolutely great. And if by any chance you can get that Zattarains Shrimp and Crab ball, go ahead and get it. Put that 4th teaspoon in. I'm telling you, it makes worlds of difference. So I'm just going to pour this in. And I'm really putting about half. So about 8 ounces of half and half you'll want. And again, I am going to put this on saute. I just want it to barely come up to back up to a boil. You know, I do not want to boil that cream a long time, but I do want to bring it up. And it's already come out the pressure cooker, so this is hot. It's not going to take it very long to come back to where I want it. It's just about almost there now. So if you're cooking it on a stove, like I said, you just want to bring it up to barely a boil. And that is that, folks. Very good. And you can also, if you desire, you can mash up some of your potatoes like I'm doing here with my spoon, just to give it a little bit of thickness. And you can also, if you want it thicker, you can put some either a little bit of flour and water, slurry. I may do that just so I can show y'all what it does, and it just thickens it up a little bit. So give me a second. Okay, all I did was mix about a teaspoon of flour, a heaping teaspoon, in about a cup of water, and I'm going to pour that in there. What that's going to do is it's going to thicken it up a little bit, and in order for that to thicken it up, you want to bring it back up to that boil. So we're just about there in this pot. And in your Instant Pot, I got a little bit of flour there that didn't dissolve, so you want to put the flour, for those of you who are not used to cooking, you want to put that heaping teaspoon of flour into a cold or room temperature cup of water. You do not, okay, my camera had cut off, but we're right back here. As I was saying, you do not want that water to be hot when you put that flour in there, otherwise that's how you get lumps. As you can see, I got a little lump there, but it's going to be fine. I'm going to let this come up to a slight boil. Boil it for about a minute maybe. And I think it will be good. You can start to see it's slowly coming to a boil. And I think that right there is some floating flour. So that's all it does. It won't hurt you. It won't do nothing. It'll just have a little bit of lumps in it if you put it in warm water. So that's why you want to put it in cold. It's called a slurry. And it'll thicken up your gravy. Any kind of gravy or soup you have. And you can use cornstarch. You can use flour. I just use regular King Arthur flour. And there you can see it's coming to a boil. And quickly you will see it. I'm going to let it boil a minute, and then I'm going to show y'all. It thickens it up just slightly. I didn't want mine very thick at all, so that's all I put. Okay, there you can see it's coming to a nice boil. And like I said, I just wanted mine not really what I consider chowder thick. I just wanted it barely thick because this is going to be put up and reheated. So that's all. And already tasted everything for y'all. I can tell y'all the shrimp and the corn and the potatoes is yummy. And you know, you'll just have the soup with it. So I hope y'all give this a try, and I hope it was easy enough for y'all to follow along. If you have any questions, be sure to comment below. And if you like this video, take a look at some of my other videos, and please subscribe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Okay guys, quickly I wanted to show y'all what it looks like. I dropped in some dehydrated parsley that I had. And again, like I said, if I move my camera, I can't get it adjusted back. But I wanted to show y'all, you know, what it looks like in a bowl before I left y'all. And I hope y'all enjoy.